today we have Omar. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Just who are you? Before we butcher your last name.
No worries at all. My name is Omar Rimawi, Omar B. Rimawi, because someone beat me to, the name without the middle initial. So that's just who I am everywhere.
I really
now.
thought it was just Bermawi.
Bermawi. People have said that over the phone quite a bit.
Now we know it's just Rimawi.
Yeah.
So I am. You have a title and stuff, I guess.
Oh yeah. So I mean, you're a local photographer and you do video as well, from what I can tell, right?
Yeah. So I started out in photography, but I pivoted professionally to video years back in the days where I worked for a viral media company called Distractify, when BuzzFeed was the big thing and whatnot, and it came out.
BuzzFeed.
So yeah.
They're out of business, right?
No, they just laid off a ton of staff and became the worst people in the world. But that's a whole other.
I remember
topic.
seeing other lists all the time when I was
born.
Yeah.
27 ways where the type of taco you are tells you what your trauma response is like. I would actually take that quiz.
Yeah. Well, if I was bored enough, I would do it.
Yeah, I had my first office job when BuzzFeed articles were the shit, and I just remember I spent a significant amount of time just filling out those forms.
Oh yeah. What your Subway toppings say about your relationship with your parents.
But yeah, man. So you got into. So tell me then, what got you into? I guess tell me about the journey from the start. So you did photography first, you said?
No, yeah. So
well, I guess when was the first time you picked up a camera? I guess is the. Let's hear this.
Through, man.
Let's hear this origin story here.
Walk us through.
Okay, so the first once in a lifetime economic recession back in 2008 and everything.
Yep.
I was in college. I was working full time. And then we lost all our grants. If you had any state grants or anything, those went away. So I took a little longer to get out. And then when I graduated, people were hiring mechanical engineers and stuff for $8 an hour. So I stuck to auto repair. I was still doing working on cars and managing a couple of places. After a while, I went to go work for a chain and I managed a couple of stores. And I was like, there has to be something a little more to life than this stuff, man. I'm literally going insane.
Yeah, I remember working in retail and I would see a lot of managers that have bachelor's degrees in something. And they're miserable just being just a general or assistant manager I used to work at Circuit City. And
wow, that's throwing me. You're dating yourself there, buddy.
Yeah. I used to work at Circuit City selling TVs. Well, I started off seasonal, and then they, they liked me enough that they kept me on full time, or not even full time, but past the season or whatever. And then they promoted me to sell TVs. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I just remember seeing some of the managers there. They all got bachelor's degrees and something that has nothing to do with what they're doing at Circuit City. I was like,
oh yeah, that's most people. I'll say it right now. College is a scam. Unless you need the degree to not kill somebody, take it as a guy who just spent way too much time in school and stuff. I got into med school and stuff, and I just remember doing it, and I'm like, bro, I am not doing this for another 10 years. And then I was like...
It just sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, I was like, this is... I'd still be in school specializing now if I went in at the time that I actually got
high risk, low reward.
Yeah, that was... Yeah. I remember I walked into my advisor's office because I was going to school for... Well, I went to school originally for history. And then I was like, let me get a little bit more technical. So I decided to do journalism.
Oh, wow. My heart. I love journalism, though.
So I was doing journalism. And then I was, that's what got kind of, I guess, laid the foundation for me in doing videos and stuff. Because I got a lot of media training. But I figured, I at some point I was like, you know what? I think I should probably do another, a different career change, especially if I'm going to pay more money to stay to finish school. So I walked into my advisors because I was dating somebody who was into computer science at the time. And they're like, well, let me see if I can get into computer science. And it was like, oh, yeah, you're going to need another 3 years for your bachelor's degree.
Fuck that.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm out.
Higher ed in the U.S. is a scam. I hate to say it. I have very strong opinions on this. I will keep it for another podcast.
I'm the same way, too, man.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But, yeah, so you were saying, yeah.
So I left there, and I went the polar opposite route. I went to work for a nonprofit, the American Red Cross. I trained out of Silver Spring in PA for a while. Silver something, not Silver Spring. Silver Street, I think. And then I got into, at this point, he was out there for years, but you guys know Casey Neistat on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my brother was talking about a cross-country bike ride he wanted to do. He was into triathlons at the time. So I was like, oh, yeah, just be careful. I remember seeing this video of all the bike lanes across cities being blocked, and I looked it up. And I found the video. It was Casey's
Was it just a bunch
lanes.
of trolls? But what is it? Just a bunch of trolls that were just
no.
Them,
so bike lanes was Casey got a ticket. He got fined for not riding in the bike lane. But
he got so mad.
Yeah, he got mad because he's like, the bike lanes are always blocked. So what he did was, the video is that he said, fine, I'm staying in the bike lanes, but he would crash into everything that was there.
Yeah, he was like, you want me to stay in this bike lane? Sure, okay, fine.
So he hit cones, and then it ends. My favorite one is he ends on a cop car that's blocking the bike lane.
There's a cop car. There's
full send. It was so funny.
This is a check right here.
but I sent my brother the link, and then I'm like, at this point, I had no idea about subscribers or subscribing on YouTube or stuff. I was like an old man who just used YouTube to look up how to do stuff and watch cat videos. And I'm like, this guy has 600 videos. I saw that there, and I'm like, who is this asshole with 600 videos, and what are they about? I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then over the course of 3 months, I consumed this dude's entire life over the past however many years it was at that point. And I was so blown away by how he was able to frame the mundane tasks of everyday life and turn it into an amazing story, weave it around with great visuals, and really just introduce a layer of storytelling I've never seen before. It's very different from what we're accustomed to in very refined cinema or very refined television. And it feels less staged, even though it is, because realistically, what's he doing? He's setting up his camera for every shot, then walking into the frame or biking up or anything like that.
But you don't think about that in the moment when you're watching it. Yeah,
because he's so good at it. He's so good at it. I still think he's the best at it, even though vlogging has changed quite a bit since then. So I saw that, and I'm like, after those 3 months, and at that point I started working as a writer for Distractify, I said, I don't know what I want to do, but it's something with this stuff, something with cameras. So he used a Canon 70D at the time.
Wow.
So I bought that camera, and it was really complicated, and and it was a stretch financially at the time.
Those like the 60Ds and the 70Ds, those are like, I every time I picked one up, it felt like a regular camera, right? But at the same time, it, like you said, it did feel very complicated to the person that doesn't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah,
because you got the little tiny screen at the top, and it's like, God, what the fuck are all these numbers here?
Yeah, yeah. But the 70D and 80D, they were still APS-C cameras. Right?
Yeah. The 80D was a technological jump over the 70D. The 70D was the first camera to have dual pixel autofocus. So what
does that mean, Omar? Please enlighten us. 'Cause I'd never heard of that.
Talking to a Sony fanboy here.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, autofocus. I can't even talk trash about Sony autofocus. That's so much better than everything else.
I jumped from a Canon T3i.
Oh God.
I jumped from a Canon T3i straight to the Sony A7 II.
Wow. So it was a light years of change for you.
But I wanted the 5D Mark III so bad. Up until the point I picked one up with an L lens on it. Nah, I was like, no, this is work. I can't walk around with this big ass fuck. This is a weapon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can really fight somebody. Like if somebody tries to steal your shit try to steal your camera, you can really fight somebody back with your camera.
I remember when I was in college, I wanted to get I needed a camera for some media stuff. So I decided to just go ahead and use my Pell Grant money to buy a Rebel T7, the Rebel T7i.
Oh, it was cool because I had a touchscreen.
Yeah, I had a touchscreen, and the Rebel T7i was dope because I got.
Was it the Costco bundle?
No, it wasn't.
You know what's funny? We can tell our age differences based on the cameras we're talking about.
Seriously, T3i, T7i,
T7i. Sir, are you old enough to be on this podcast, sir?
Yeah, but I used that money to get the T7i, and I got it wasn't the Costco bundle, it was a bundle from B&H. So sometimes when you go on B&H and you just buy shit, they'll just send you something for free, and you don't even realize it until you check out. So I checked out, and I was just gonna get the kit, the regular kit, what I think it's like their 28 to 70 equivalent or whatever that standard focal range is, the regular zoom. So I was expecting that. and a microphone, because I was also I was also keeping tabs on all the Casey Neistat and all the YouTube vlog wave that was popping at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a mic, and I'm gonna get this Canon T7i, and that's gonna be it. Next thing I know, I realized when I checked out, B&H is hooking me up with a battery grip and the 10 to 17. The 10 to 17.
The 10 to 18, the vlog lens.
Yeah, the I think it's like a $200-ish lens that they were selling.
So they just hooked you up with that?
Yeah, and the battery grip. But I remember I was carrying around the battery grip because I was like, I've never had a battery grip before. I was coming from a Nikon D3100. That was my first camera. And then I was like, when I was carrying with a battery grip, I could not let that thing go. I could not let that thing go. I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like a pro. Yeah. This is a Rebel, by the way. This is not even a full frame camera.
It doesn't matter. Appearances are everything.
Yeah.
Funny thing for video, camera cages and stuff. I at one point built out a rig. Literally only because it made clients feel more calm, like this, like, oh, this looks like a real thing. Yep. Because when they saw me show up with just the bare camera hand holding, I was literally doing the exact same thing. Right. But I put a monitor and like V-mount on it. They were like, oh, you're going to do your job with that? Is that good enough? And I'm looking at them like,
it's good enough.
Clearly it is. And then just the reaction. One person realized what I did and was dying when they realized what was going on.
That's true though, because some clients just don't
perception.
Know. Like,
it's just perception.
And if the lens is bigger, that means that it's better.
Yeah, 1000%. I go out. I got one of my friends into photography during the pandemic because I'm a terrible friend apparently. And he bought a Nikon, a D800, and he had the telephoto lens. And when we'd go out, people would ask him to take their photos. Like stuff is like, oh, you're the professional
with a telephoto lens.
Yeah, no, like they would hand the phone to him, like if they wanted a cell phone. Oh, shit. And then it was so funny to us because I'm still trying to like teach him some of this stuff, and I'm like, look, you're the professional here, my guy. That's it. So that's some business advice right there. If you want to appear like a pro, just carry around, even if it's like the cheap $80 super telephoto Amazon lenses, just slap it on and walk around DC. Instant clientele.
It also really helps with, especially like, keep in mind, even if they just don't know, just having that security, especially if they're paying you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially if they're paying you a pretty penny too. Like, can you imagine you pull up in a fucking A60, like A6600 to do your corporate interview or testimonials. Mm-hmm. When you're filming your CEO and he's like just sitting there, he's going to have in the back of his mind, like, I'm over here getting filmed with this bullshit.
Yeah, with this little ass camera.
And that could affect, like, your actual shoot.
Mixed bag, actually, and I can say this from experience, some people are really intimidated by large cameras.
That's true.
So when you coach them up a bit, that's actually where these mirrorless cameras that cinematographers love to shit on, that's where they come in clutch, because you just tell them, hey, look, it's, I got the camera right here. Nothing crazy. Be yourself, and they feel a lot more comfortable than seeing like this giant thing in a cage
with
and fans blaring,
a red camera with the lights and shit.
Yeah, with the big lights.
You just do like a little practical, maybe just like one little a room light or something like that. And you're
I
good
talked
to go.
about this in another podcast where like sometimes it could be a little extra, where like photographers know this and they kind of like overuse it or overdo it.
He's talking about me right now.
No. I was like on another shoot. I was there just doing not even behind the scenes. I was just kind of hanging out because the client that was getting pictures taken of, she's like, can you come over, just take some pictures and everything. All right, cool. And then I saw the other photographer, what they were doing, and they were like just doing the most. Like they got two flashes, like two huge flashes, a background and everything. And then she's like going like this, getting on the ground like this. I'm like, okay. I mean, I get it. Like, get your bag, get your money. Yeah. But it's like, none of this matters. And she's like doing this right here. Like, okay.
She did the thing?
Yeah. I was like, okay. That does nothing.
Literally.
It just looks cool to the layman person, right?
What focal length are you? This is like actually, fun fact. Fun fact. This is probably a 50 millimeter camera. This is probably a 50 millimeter angle of view when you put your thumb and finger together to kind of make that square frame. For anyone who's not watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 50 frames is like the closest to our eye, right? Yeah.
It's between 50 and 85 or something, but like it's so funny. Like you don't realize this until you start doing this. You're like, why did we ever do this?
Just to look cool. Because that's the thing too. It's like what you guys are saying. It's just like you got to present yourself in a way where it makes them feel comfortable in paying you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's why some people just overdo it, which is fine. You do your thing or whatever. If it makes you more money in the long run, who cares, right? It's your money. It's your bag. But after me, I work with a lot of natural light and maybe a flash here occasionally. But because I've just always done street photography.
Yeah.
But like when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, damn. So this is what it really is out here. Like this is really the business.
It's all about just figuring out like understanding the situation that you're really in.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you can't just like for a collaboration if it's just something that I'm doing that's a little artsy. Nobody's making any money off of this. I am not dragging along a whole like Pelican case with everything and the C stands and all that to a shoot outdoors. I'm just not going to do that, But for some people, like if it's like a shoot or something, cool. Or if you have a creative vision that just demands all that,
well, yes,
that's fine.
That's when it makes sense.
Right
but if you're like.
Just not the 40 Spider-Man poses while you're actually taking
you can see through like as another I guess the best way to put it is like as an experienced photographer you kind of see the bullshit. You can kind of see through the bullshit. Be like, okay, you don't have to do all that. I mean, maybe they don't know what they're doing, and that's fine. If they got their client, they got their client. And if the photos come out how they want them to, then that's fine. Who cares? It's just like, damn, do you really need to do all that though?
Yeah.
No, but it's like you said though. It depends on, I guess, just kind of like how they want to present themselves with the client. I used to pick up some side gigs from Craigslist as a second shooter, and I gotta say, some of the stuff that I saw from the first shooters were just like really far out there. And I'm similar to you, where I prefer to use natural light. I do know how to use like strobes and stuff because I shoot products for a living.
Yeah.
My favorite is carrying one and then using a mix of ambient and like fill light and stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I get like my favorite photos, and we're always done with that.
To make it look as natural as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't want to make it look super staged or like they're cut out through light because they have like 40 different lights firing at them at the same time.
Plus, it can be intimidating to some people too.
Yeah, that's another thing. Plus, if you're outdoors, there are permitting issues. Sometimes not even permitting issues, but if people see you setting up, I've had strangers approach me and say, "Do you have a permit for that?"
Oh my God.
I don't know if that's because I'm brown or anything like that.
I'd be willing to guess that might be part of it.
Yeah, maybe it's the beard. But yeah, no. Like when I'm doing just regular photography with a camera, completely unbothered. As a matter of fact, when I first moved down here. Had I known this would be popular years later.
You moved down here from where?
I'm originally from North Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, North Jersey, New York area. So I grew up in Clifton, went to school Patterson, spent a lot of time in the Bronx.
True.
And then that was part of the whole me, like kind of going, hey, there's something else to do. So blitzed down here while I was working remote, long before remote was the standard with Distractify, and just kind of trying to figure out stuff. But when I first came down here, I actually used to do street portraits. Where I'd approach people, I'd be like, hey, I'm just walking around, trying out some different angles and whatnot.
I like your outfit.
Yeah. And a lot of people were like, they were happy. They're like, yeah, especially they get like a photo sent to them for free. There were some families that they'd see it, they'd ask me for that, and it led to some work. I caught like a surprise engagement one time, which was super random in Old Town Alexandria. It was such a bad photo, but at the same time, like I don't even know where the original file is. I want to find it so I can edit it the way that I do nowadays. But it was such a special thing. It was like something that wasn't content, which is a whole other topic at the same time. Content versus everything else, which I will rant on for hours. But it was a lot of fun, and that is actually why, even though I'm a videographer and I introduce myself as a videographer, typically photography holds a very special place in my heart. That video, and I love and adore video, but it can't reach because you can't print a video, you can't hang it up, you can't give it to you can give it to someone as a gift, but it's very different where it's something that they put in their house and they go in and they see and stuff.
Unless you have a projector and just play it on the loop.
I mean, you got that kind of clientele money, I think you're doing pretty well right there.
Or just put it on a USB, put it on their TV, just have it on,
perpetual loop. That's what grandparents will do. That's what grandparents will do. That's why I don't get married. I don't get mad at them for taking video at weddings and stuff because people don't know this, but those are the videos that the grandparents will watch 5,000 times and send to everyone on WhatsApp and post to Facebook 4,000 times instead of resharing it, and take a screen cap as their profile picture that's super blurry and stuff.
It's like 29 kilobytes of.
It's so wholesome though. It's so wholesome. But then you see like the rants, like if you're not just get it. Like it's part of what it is now. Just stop up your aperture and just grab a photo of the phones and then raise it up and grab the shot of them. You have permission to walk up. They don't.
I was at this wedding. LOL. Lots of love.
What corporate decision was that one?
But no, you brought up a really interesting point. Let's go there with a content versus.
Do you want to open this can of worms?
Let's go there.
Yeah, because
I've had numerous conversations about this with my girlfriend and with a couple of other people too, where it's just like me personally, I do this now, as my job. Like before, I didn't. Especially now with the way that social media is and how everybody's kind of like Instagram has essentially abandoned the photography community.
Yeah,
it's so.
Also, thoughts on that we'll get into.
It's
later.
so interesting now, where I go into, I try to think of what do I want to post or what do I want to do, and I know what could work, what could get me engagement.
The low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
And you know what? And even for my day job, I have to do a lot of content that is that low hanging fruit, and I'm just I don't want to do this shit. This is not fulfilling for me in the slightest. Sure. I know it's probably gonna get some views or it's gonna get some likes.
Right.
But am I doing a disservice to myself? Am I wasting my time creatively on, as you said, this low hanging fruit? So I guess give me your thoughts on that whole thing.
All right, so I just actually want to maybe play off what you just said a little bit. Can I ask your age first?
28.
I'm 36. So
I'm 2 years younger than you.
I'm an old man. I'm a very old man.
I guess I'm an old man too. Shit, goddamn.
No, it's just I act very immature, unfortunately, for my age.
Same here.
But so I remember back when people used to just share moments on Instagram, and that's essentially, and you're going to see this with TikTok very soon as well, but essentially that's how all of these media platforms work, where initially people, they tie personalities to it, they build a community there, they might even build businesses there, which happened quite a bit on Instagram. But then what happens is after X number of years where the companies will either operate at a loss or not really break super even or make, some marginal profits, then they're going to reel back that reach, start charging ad space. And then in the case of Instagram or Facebook, I don't know if you guys know this, but they actually started copying Be Real for a new feature that's been rolled out. Be Real, for anyone who doesn't know, is an app where it's a fairly popular app. It's been rising in popularity over the past year, where you get a prompt at a certain time of day and it says you have to snap a photo right now of what you're doing. And it's kind of like that live in the moment type thing, and people will share stuff like that. So you have
that's actually a really cool concept, actually.
Conceptually, it's amazing, and that's why it's gaining popularity. But now Instagram, what they do, they borrow features from other places, try to make it their own, and that's how they grow.
They're super blatant about it. They don't give a damn.
No, because you can't technically copyright or patent a visual process or anything. So they do everything kind of a little shittier. Remember, Snapchat had those amazing AI filters, and Instagram came out with ones that were so bad they were memeable, which made them even funnier. But yeah, so that's damn, I don't even remember where I got off this tangent. But yeah, so.
Yeah, the app Be Real and
So Be Real is it's something that's growing, and it's kind of bringing some of that connection back. I don't know what's going to happen now that Instagram is I'm going to do it, but that's what I remember social media apps being, and then I saw it transform over time because I've been working in it for that long. Go from there to the very curated personas that a lot of millennials are guilty of as well. And I am a millennial. I don't want to hear anything from anyone. This is an evaluation of our generation. Not blanket terms, obviously. This is a very blanketed statement, but at least what became very popular was a very curated aesthetic, and then people would try to emulate that in their personal feeds to their 10 friends.
Yeah, back in 2014, man, if you were a street photographer, all your shit had to be some really good shit, and that with no real personality to it, just have it look like your favorite other street photographer. Or your favorite other popular street photographer, like 13th Witness and all that shit.
Yes.
And like New York was the mecca of street photography. You had to make a trip out to New York if you wanted to get some really good street photography.
Gotta get that Brooklyn Bridge shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta get that
man, I'm guilty of that shit too, man.
You know what? I'm trying to figure out do you remember what year Instagram allowed you to mark locations?
I wouldn't know. I would guess around 2015, 2016.
It's something around there. It might have been even 2014 actually, because it was definitely before the Harambe area. I'll say that. Everything to me, that's how I measure time. That's how I measure time. It's pre and post Harambe.
That's an interesting time marker in our lives.
Pre and post. Think of how crazy life got after Harambe died. I don't know what he was guarding us from, but when he died, those floodgates open, man.
Low-key, he was just Jesus, and then we just killed him off.
Yeah.
We're living in the year 5 AH.
Oh God, rest his soul. Our beautiful prince.
Oh Lord. Oh man. But no, I remember like after locations was added in, like there was such a tonal shift with Instagram. Because I mean, influencers and I guess that lifestyle of or that method of posting like the best parts, the highlights of your life, and trying to create this image for yourself on Instagram. It was a thing early in the app's like life, but I remember that escalated like once everybody started finding like locations. Like, oh, I gotta go to that little spot in the Grand Canyon. I gotta go to Banff. I gotta go.
Too.
Yeah,
Bandos
yeah.
For a while.
And it was like, and I just remember that's when all these different that's when Instagram started experimenting with ads. Advertisers started to link up with people who had big followings on Instagram.
And that the birth of the influencer right there.
Yeah. So it's like it's just very interesting to see that lifestyle, because I remember I was there for the early days of Instagram. I mean, well, I don't know, it was like 2012, 2011, right?
Pre-purchase.
I remember downloading that shit, and I was like, I mean, but then you could only take pictures on your phone.
Yeah.
You couldn't import anything. It was all just on your phone.
We talked
about
like
this, 7 of those filters and all that stuff.
We talked about this on the show like way back, but I remember like there was a time where if you actually went out of your way to put like photos on Instagram that weren't taken on the app, you were looked at as like why are you being so extra?
Yeah, like, why the fuck, yeah.
Because I was that guy. Because I had a little because I remember I was the guy when I was like out of high school. I was that guy who always had like a Sony cyber shot. They had like the nicest Sony cyber shot at the time. So I was always taking pictures like off of a phone, because I was trying to tell my friends like, y'all don't realize those fucking phone cameras suck. So I would like take those.
Give it a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
I was a camera hipster.
Yeah, for real.
Hipster.
Yeah, with my cyber shot.
Didn't those have to?
That's vintage now.
Didn't those have the weird SD cards?
Memory stick duo.
Yeah.
I have PTSD from those. I'll never forget those purple sticks.
You lost that? You can't.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're paying money for a replacement, man.
You might as well just buy a new camera, because I remember I would get them for like $100.
I'm glad that we now have a standard of just SD card at least all the way
Yeah,
down.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But I remember like I would post a photo and my friends would be like, why didn't you take this? Like, why aren't you just taking it on your phone? And then I'd post it on Instagram. And we're like, oh, that looks so cool. How do you do that? And I was like, for the fucking camera. But yeah, like I remember like it was just pure just bullshit. Like you either post whatever it is you're eating for the day or you're hanging out with your friends, or you get to this other side where it's like getting super, I guess, artsy. And I started noticing a lot of like traditional photographers transitioning over to Instagram. And then that's when you get the whole like, oh, all the celebrities are on it, or all the lifestyle influencers are on it.
I guess another aspect of it too was like whenever, especially for me, like I never came at photography as like, when I first thought about photography or whatever, I don't even know how to explain this, but it almost felt like an old person thing to do, photography. You know what I mean? It never struck me personally. I don't know how it is for anybody else, but for me personally, it wasn't until like 2013 and everything where I started taking some decent pictures JPEG, because I didn't even know how to shoot RAW or edit. So I was like, I just tried to get the best picture I could out straight out the camera. But and then Instagram kind of gave me that platform of being like, okay, well, I guess I could just post this here. And then that's when I kind of really ventured into the whole street photography thing and seeing all these popular street photographers doing these great shots of, you know, sunsets and, you know, just street shit and everything like that. And something in it, something in me clicked. I was like, okay, so photography is actually kind of cool now. You know, for me, I never clicked. I never thought of it as something cool. I just thought it's like, okay, these are photos. You know what I mean? Like, but Instagram kind of changed the perspective on that. And I drank that fucking Kool-Aid, boy. Let me tell you, I drank that fucking Kool-Aid, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just taking pictures for Instagram. If it's not Instagram worthy, I'm not taking
worth
it.
That's such a funny phrase to hear all these years later. Instagram worthy.
Yeah.
That's so funny because now everything I view is like if it's not print worthy, like this thing over here, I'll carry it around with me when I'm looking for something to print.
What is that? What you got going on there? What's that?
Oh, so funny enough, these are my two like main print cameras. So on one hand, I've got a Fuji GFX 100S.
Wait, is that medium format? That one?
Yep.
Oh,
damn.
Medium format.
This is actually the first time I've seen one of those in person.
Yeah, medium format camera. I've been a Fuji shooter. I switched over to my biggest investment was the XT3 in that ecosystem 4 years ago.
That thing is huge.
It's a big boy.
That lens is thick.
It's a thick boy. 3 C's minimum.
That's a thick ass boy right there.
But it's I mean, I love the quality. The files edit really well.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think those focal lengths. What's the conversion between full frame and?
I think it's on this one specifically. It's 0.77 or 0.71.
Okay.
So this is like not exactly a 1.2 aperture. It's like a 1.4 or something. But because of how the bokeh fall off and everything is, it looks phenomenal. Not that I always shoot wide open, although why do we buy fast lenses? It's so we can shoot wide open.
Yeah.
But I love the detail especially when you're doing landscape or you're doing something where there's like a lot of detail that's worth keeping in behind them. I do love this camera for it. Funny enough, from a digital perspective, not really a massive difference when it comes to portraits between this and my XT3. And even though
That was 80.
Yeah, so it's like a 55-ish or something. Here we go. My good side. It's going to be my new LinkedIn photo.
That's crazy, though. So I'm super fascinated by what Fuji's doing with the medium format side of things.
Yeah,
making it affordable. Making it affordable was huge.
I have pioneered this statement, and you will say I will die on this hill. That I think so. You know how the format for new photographers and video or people who are getting into this business would be, you know, oh, go ahead and get started on an APS-C camera like we did, you know, like something cheap. But because with all these mirrorless cameras and full frame getting a lot cheaper and cheaper, with full frame cameras getting a whole lot cheaper and cheaper.
I remember full frame being so out of my range.
Yeah, like it's like it's not even fathomable, like, you know. But now you have cameras that are going for like even on the used market, you can get cameras for like less than $1,000.
Yeah, you can get an A7 II. You can get an A7 II for like $800 these days.
Yeah, with a kit lens, most likely too. Mm-hmm.
I paid $2,500 for my shit with a kit lens.
No, but like I remember, so with all that in mind, I really do think that the new wave is going to be like,
oh, that's right. We talked. Yeah.
I really do think like, full frame is basic. I mean, medium format. All these fucking formats. Medium format is the new full frame, and I feel like almost like I'd rather steer new photographers in the direction of these cheaper full frame cameras instead of going APS-C.
So
because you want to give a medium format before them.
Yes.
I have thoughts on this because so the full frame discussion was something that I never understood as someone who always shot on APS-C. Mm-hmm. I consciously went with the Fujifilm system over the Canon EOS R. That's what I was waiting for before making the jump from the EOS M because I started out as a Canon shooter
aren't
years back.
EOS R kind of not good.
Well, 5 years ago, 4 years ago when it came out, like the RF system, like the RF glass is right now in a class of its own, along with the new Nikon glass.
Yeah. But even the metabones on for your old Canon glass, isn't it like super not like responsive? It's not like as fast as no. Well, obviously it wouldn't be built.
No, I mean, I don't know about the EOS R specifically, but I do know that everything, for reference for everyone, I shoot on Canon R5Cs right now, but the older EF glass performs better. with the adapter on the newer stuff, and I'm assuming that's because of the processing algorithms and probably maybe with updates in time and stuff. But like slow glass, like if you have the old EF 85mm 1.2, do not expect that to suddenly focus very, very well at all, or anything like that. I can already
imagine that sounds loud as shit.
Yeah, that was a hard focusing lens. I had that one when I had the 70D, and then trying to shoot sports and stuff. I guess just to touch back, after the whole trying to figure out the camera with Casey Neistat and like, oh, let me do vlogs. Instead of being a trooper and like saying I'm going to double down and learn this stuff, I put it back in the box and on the shelf for like 8 months. And then I was interested in strongman. At that point, I was competing in Olympic weightlifting. But strongman was something that was always super cool. And I found.
Wait, hold on. You said you were competing? Like you were.
Yeah. So I competed years back. I wasn't very good. But
I couldn't tell, man.
It's a really good shirt. Really good shirt. I eventually transitioned to strongman though, because that's more fun to like pull trains and like lift stones and stuff. But I went to take photos because I had like vacation days I had to burn, and up in Lake Placid, that's where the Olympics were held, the Winter Olympics in like the 80s. So I figured, let me do a nice trip. And I went up there and I took photos, and I saw guys deadlifting 700-800 pounds. So I'm like, I can't believe no one knows about this. That's crazy. And they're like,
that's heavy as shit.
It's a lot. Yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, this is like normal for people in the sport, but nobody knows about these amateur rankings. So I said, all right, I'm going to do photos at these things.
Makes sense.
The photos. And then eventually when I got into video, I started doing videos, and then gradually I became more and more known, and now I'm at World's Strongest Man every year, producing social content for SBD, linking up with the Endeavor team that they run all the social channels and everything for there.
Yeah.
You know, chill with the production crew, with the athletes and everything. Like, it's super cool. And a couple of the athletes I knew before they went pro and stuff nowadays too. So all that from picking up a camera, literally changed the trajectory of my life.
That's another conversation too. Just like what you experience just by being a photographer. And just being there and like
that, see, just being there is a really big thing, though. Just being there is a huge part of sometimes moving ahead. Being willing to do something.
I've been to a lot of nice places and a lot of like fancy things and a lot of different weird things just because I'm a photographer.
Yeah, it's kind of wacky. It's like you talked to you. I think we talked about it on the last episode, but you went to another polo game.
Yeah,
so I saw you post it. I saw you post it.
Yeah, like when would I ever be at a polo game? Yeah, it is like, such a rich people sport.
Just think about like, I mean, well, I know you. Like, just think like maybe 2-3 years ago.
No, never would have thought. Never in a million years. And I'm there for work. I'm getting paid to do this
Amazing.
Shit. Yeah. But it's like, and because I've also been to Cancun because of photography.
Nice.
I've been to New Orleans because of photography. I've been to Florida for photography. Just like in general, it's like it almost gives you like at some point the imposter syndrome kind of settles in a little bit. Is like, am I really working? Because I come from blue collar work. You know what I mean.
Same.
So it's like, you know, it's like, am I really working? Is this really it? Is this my life right now? Like, is this? Damn. Okay, I guess it is. Shit.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, so I have to, when I say this, I say this to myself as well. We do have to remember that when the imposter syndrome does settle in, remember how much work went into actually learning this stuff and how different what you put out is from other people who will hold the same exact piece of equipment or better equipment.
Yeah.
It's something that has to stay at the forefront of your mind, especially if you weren't traditionally educated in this stuff. I learned everything for photo and video on YouTube at 29. Like, definitely YouTube University. I feel like they should print me out a certificate and stuff. But yeah, that imposter syndrome, it's got to go away because that'll just lead to more opportunities for us. Like, that's super cool that you managed to go out on those trips. That's awesome.
Yeah, polo is an amazing sport, and the core body that these people need to have to not only ride the horse, but go under and hit the goddamn the ball is like this size right here, and they have to hit it and still be like I'm like, man, I don't know how they do it. Shout out to them.
When you photograph, so you had to photograph the actual like event, like the actual game?
No, well, not particularly, but I did the first time I went.
Okay.
The second time I was there because I had to shoot some stuff for loan officer.
Do they have photogenic horses?
Yes, they do.
Okay, because some horses be ugly.
those are the ones that go viral, though.
Yeah, right.
Those are the ones that go viral.
It's like, damn, that shot's fire, but my horse.
There was a moment where I was just standing there. I was like, yo, like 26-year-old me never would have thought I'd be here on a polo field. I never, even the sport polo never even crossed my mind. I know of the shirts and shit, obviously, and there's okay, yeah, people ride around in horses, but there's a really weird, there's like a really cool subculture of polo, and obviously they have a lot of money because they got to have at least 8 horses at a time. Yeah, exactly. They ride. I don't know the terminology
Redundancy.
yet. Yeah, because they can only run. They can only ride the horses like I think 5 minutes at a time or 7 minutes at a time.
Yeah,
and then from there they take a quick little 5-10 minute break, and then they get on a new horse and come back in, and then I think each match. I don't know I don't know all the rules yet because I was just fascinated by just being there. And being around that many horses, I was just like, "Yo, I've always driven by them. Maybe I've seen one at a petting zoo or some shit like that. And when I was a kid, maybe. But man, when I seen them, I was able to touch it and pet it. And then they're like, "Oh, the ears are up. It means it likes you." That's the thing. That's like a dog tail wag. You know what I mean? So I was like, "Damn, okay, this thing is huge." Like no wonder we were fascinated by them as cavemen. You know, like I see that fucking thing. I want to ride that fucking thing.
I mean, anyone who lives is still fascinated. I wish I had the quad development that those things did, man.
Yeah. You bring up a very interesting idea. You bring up a very interesting scenario. What was the first mounting of a horse?
Right?
What was the thought process behind that?
I want to ride that.
Yeah.
No, because even me as somebody that's not into horses at all. The first thing when I first pet a horse and it was friendly to me, I was like, man. Let me get on this motherfucker real quick. Let's see where we can go.
I love it. Absolutely
maybe after some mushrooms, maybe.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to say that with photography, you get exclusive access to a lot of shit that other people just don't.
Yeah.
Just because you're good at what you do, and to your point, I treat everything that I've done up until now. It's basically like a 4 or 5 year free college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've gotten my
great
skill.
approach, actually.
Yeah. And then I've gotten it down to where people know that I'm good. I know that I'm good. It's just sometimes when it's like something that's overwhelming, it's like, God, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
That imposter syndrome hits me a little bit, but then after a while, it's like, nah, man, I'm good at what I do. Fuck that.
And that's the energy you have to bring to this shit every single day. And it really is. It really is. And, for us, especially anyone who works in the media space or the production space, I like to call it, we are constantly learning too. The second you stop learning is when you're just like, all right, you're done.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like, Pierre, video is a recent endeavor for you.
No, it's been... I did video. I started off with video, and then I did photography for a while.
Oh, we're opposites.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, because I did a really shitty video, and it hurt my ego so bad because it was like so bad, and I was like, no, fuck this. I gotta learn the eye. I gotta learn composition. I gotta learn how to do this. So then I picked up photography, and that's why I started StreetMe because I wanted to learn a lot more about photography, so that way that would translate over into video. Yeah, I've always been more into video, but photography is a lot easier for me now, but video is always something that's always been kind of closer to me.
That's actually super cool to know.
Yeah.
I feel like we just strengthened our bond here right now with that statement.
Yeah, no, because I used to do a lot of music videos for all these local rappers.
Nice.
And then I did a personal like a travel video like I usually do anytime I go anywhere, and it was just ass, and I was like, and then like it just kind of brought me down. I was like, all right, no. I know there's my camera does photography too. I don't really take a lot of pictures, but I guess I should learn how to at least composition my shit, and that'll translate over to video. So now here I am.
You're not truly a creative until you hate yourself at least a couple of times. Yeah. That's how you know.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the travel video. That was my humble point too. It's like there's a big trip coming up. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get the whole thing on video, and then you go home and the video is like shaky as hell, terrible quality, grainy,
make shutter speed, think everything.
Nothing's in focus.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, and that's what kind of made me rethink everything, and that's why I started StreetMe because of that.
So that's so funny. So StreetMeet for me, not to go off tangent, but I feel like it's relevant considering who everyone here is. StreetMeet for me was a massive, massive, massive skill builder.
Nice.
Huge skill builder for photography. But when I tell you this, I mean that if you saw my portraits and photos pre-StreetMeet, there were more, I wouldn't even call them documentary style. They were just like really shitty edits at the attempt and whatnot. I didn't edit my first set of photos until the first StreetMeet I went to, which I didn't even know was a group. I thought it was just an event called StreetMeet. It was like in Silver Spring maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Wow, it was a while back. Yeah. It was a while back. And then I ran into you guys again at the Wharf maybe 2 years later. Mm-hmm. That's where I met someone who we still shoot every now and then. Every now and then. My English has failed me. Her name's Shula, and she really spent a lot of time with me. I asked her, I'm like, look, I've never edited photos before. And she's like, yeah, well, I'm just trying to model and take some photos. I'm like, cool. Can you be honest about and give me honest feedback and let me rework the edits to get some real feedback? And I really do appreciate. This is why I'll still like shoot. If she has like
were you a watermark guy back then?
Back then, no.
Oh, okay.
Back then, no. But before that, I was. Before that, I was for events I would cover. And I stopped. I stopped doing watermarks. I stopped doing watermarks because I feel like it took away from the actual photos.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It really does.
They really were eyesores. And I feel like a lot of people, especially now when you develop a style, a lot of people will recognize your editing style.
It's also redundant. I mean, once you post on Instagram, it's not yours anymore anyway.
Yeah. and like if someone's paying you, by the way, I will die on this hill. If someone is paying you, especially if it's a client, especially if it's someone you want to maintain a relationship with, don't watermark your stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's such an ego thing, but I mean, I could go into that a lot deeper, but yeah, as you were saying.
Well, yeah, so with her, she gave me real feedback first time around. She's like, yeah, this is not my skin color. It's like orange. Tossed on some preset there, worked it out, and then
as you toned too much.
Yeah. But yeah, like as time progressed, I went to more of these. I learned how to dodge and burn, and then I really I paid someone for some digital lessons. I'm like, look, I want to learn how to edit better, and now now I feel like my photos have gotten to a really nice place. I've taken some portraits that I really, really do like. For some of them, I'll actually print them out. Like there's one girl, Megan, who her mom comes with her to the events when they go and shoot and everything.
Is that Lioness and Lonnie?
No. Me and her actually work together, which we did.
Oh, really?
We met before we worked together, which is crazy.
Oh, really?
Super random. Super random. We took cherry blossom photos earlier this year, and I actually printed out a photo for her mom to give to her because I've given these photos to some of the others, especially the younger, more impressionable kids who their parents were there because obviously they're worried. They're like, who are all these weird people taking photos of you?
Right.
I give them the prints, and they absolutely love the photos.
Of course,
like I went to one of their houses like 3 years later or something just to we were going to go somewhere together to shoot something, and I stepped in for cup of water, and I saw that photo years later right when you walk in, hanging in the hallway. I was like, wow, that is awesome. Here's one like in real life from me. Zuckerberg isn't gonna get this emotion. But yeah, that stuff was pretty cool. I mean, I love StreetMeet for what it's done for me creatively, and then also a lot of the people I've networked with, a lot of the creatives, which for the longest time it was hard for me to even call myself a creative because I view myself as a very technical person.
Yeah.
But working with some of the people, talking with some of the people has helped me kind of branch out from the very rigid mindset that I typically came in with, and I feel like I've developed professionally and personally in a very positive direction as a result of these engagements. So really thank you, and thank everyone else for putting those on.
I mean, that's kind of why that's exactly the reason I started this thing.
Yeah. How long have you been coming?
Consistently, I want to say 3 to 3.5 years, but that one Silver Spring meet from years back was when I was living in Maryland, and that's right after I did from New York. Again, I didn't even know it was. I actually think I recognized Sway was there for the longest time, or no?
Yeah, he was there.
Okay, yeah. So I think I recognized him at one of the other ones. I'm like, is this the same guy? Because we had some conversation or something there. And then like very recently, maybe a couple of meets ago, someone was talking about that meet from years back.
Yeah.
Because we were planning on going to Silver Spring again, which for a recent one. And so I asked, I'm like, was this like in this other part of town by chance or anything? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, shit, we met a long ass time ago.
I always love to see that because sometimes there are moments where people are like, holy shit, you were here like a long time ago. Nice to see you again.
I just ran into you guys. I had no idea there was anything or anything. I was just out trying to like take photos and stuff.
We've had several of those happen where like, oh, I was just out here taking pictures. You guys are out here too.
Yeah. No, that's dope though. I'm glad that you're able to learn a lot from StreetMe. Like I always tell people like, hey, look, especially those who are a little bit nervous or they don't, or maybe they just prefer to be a little bit more low key about shooting, or they feel some type of way about shooting in an environment where everybody is like kind of packed in. You know, we get a whole bunch of different styles that come up to StreetMe, but it's always like, look, it's really cool for people, especially that are new to this, to come in because there's like no pressure. You know, there's like no pressure on trying to figure out like how to pose somebody, for instance, because you get models who come up who are
they don't know what they're doing either. You know,
or you get, or even if on the model side, like you pop in and there's like probably other models there who can give you that guidance, or there will be at least one photographer in that crowd who will know how to kind of direct the shoot a little bit better.
Yeah,
you know,
and
that's another thing I learned too. I learned how to direct shoots. Otherwise, I was one of those the quiet types. Believe it or not, I was one of those very timid people you're describing, and this would be me. Like, okay, next pose. And now it's like, all right, let me tilt your head a little this way.
No, but the best part is like there's no competition. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's there to just do the same thing that everybody else is doing, and you know, hopefully everybody gets the same or gets a great shot. And that's you know, like I was saying before, it's like that's why I started, is because I made a shitty video and I was like, I need to get better at photography because I feel like that's gonna help out. And people felt the same way. Like, I just want to get better at this shit too. And we all happen to, you know, because I went to a meetup.com thing one time and I did not feel welcome there. It was like a bunch of middle-aged dudes. And, you know, a lot of the times these people feel like you might be taking opportunities from them. And that's like, this is not my vibe.
Yeah, no. I feel that. Also, fun fact, I don't care what anyone says, those are the ones with the weirdos, too.
Yeah.
Those are the ones with the weirdos. I went to one. I will never go to another one ever again.
Yeah. I had the same experience. I was like, nah, this ain't for me.
Yeah, I have the same thing with like a bunch of Facebook groups. Like that's my big thing. Like there's a lot of Facebook groups where you would think like the model is the same, where it's like, oh, we're trying to be a community. But no, it's just a bunch of people who are looking for the cheapest work possible. There's a lot of like people who are looking for photographers that join, you know, with I guess that pretense. But I don't know, like barriers of entry to joining Facebook groups nowadays is like nothing. Yeah, you just say you're interested, and now suddenly like is you know in that community and is just fishing for like the cheapest photographers they can get.
Yeah, I mean the race to the bottom is going to get you bottom tier results. That's really.
I always tell people that. Yeah, I always tell people it's like you're going to get what you pay for. You know, and also like just to kind of like pull off from that a little bit, photographers need to like understand that there's a level of pacing when it comes to like doing this as a business. You know, because I love to promote people who are you know, about their shit and they want to charge accordingly for their work. But you also have to understand that, you know, there's tiers, you know? So with experience, yeah, you're not going to charge $100 for a shoot. But I guess what I'm trying to go with here is that there should never be a stagnation in your work. You know, it's always like, yeah, like I got, you know, X amount of years, but don't be that guy who is, you know, suddenly the expertise on everything, photo, video, and you're not improving on your skills on a day-to-day basis.
That's all for me on this podcast, folks. I'll catch you next time. Nah, jokes. I know what you mean. A lot of people in the creative space, I feel like, have horrible business acumen.
Yeah.
And, you know, like this was me for the longest time. I'm still something I'm working on as I'm trying to go, like, full independent. But it's a skill set that you don't realize you have to cultivate as a creative. And if you are a creative naturally, then this really does go in the opposite direction of a lot of the stuff that comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty real concern, and it's weird when people specialize on the low end of things. I'm in the camp of, you know how people complain about, oh, everything's more accessible, so they're taking young jobs from us. These young guys are charging nothing, taking jobs from us. No. Those are the entry-level gigs because
those are jobs you probably don't even want.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Especially, like, you don't want to deal...
Can you do an 8-hour shoot for me for $100?
Exactly.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, so like, you
Somebody
know...
else can do it.
You're supposed to refine your technique, your business acumen. Like, if you've ever seen photos and wonder, how the hell is this guy making money doing this? It's because he's a good businessman. That's a skill set that a lot of us creatives really need to work. And if you ever find yourself,
that's some real shit.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that when you do this, also, this is a big piece of advice I give for a lot of the newer creatives. Always keep a personal project going, because if you're just doing work in the creative space, after a while you do begin to resent just everything about it.
Yeah.
There was a time
this
where
guy's a fucking fortune teller over here. Goddamn, because that's kind of where I'm at right now.
It's a rough thing to do, and that's actually why I love doing collaborative stuff with people.
Yeah.
I did one with Rose. That video will come out pretty soon. She's going to send me a couple of the edits to overlay. I'd love to do something down the line with StreetMeet, just to kind of showcase the rest of the world exactly what it is, because I've been around and I've seen these other groups. This is not shade whatsoever, but this is the best group I've ever been an event as. It's very...
I'm not saying anything.
It's so welcoming. It's like when you see someone randomly from outside and you guys met at me, it's like instant chill and everything. Everyone will introduce each other.
I always try to make that clear from the jump for everybody. It's like, this is the safest space you'll ever be. Where it's never going to be weird if you ask a question.
Yeah.
It's never going to be, you can ask anybody anything. Or come to me. I don't give a damn. Like I'll
there
chop
are
it
no
up
dumb
with you.
questions because we've all been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've all literally
that's
been
really
there.
the phrase right there. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, and you know, exactly like you, it's very funny that you bring this up too, because I'm at a point now where I don't even bother talking money at all if it's something that is self-satisfying for me, like if it's something that I'm doing just out of pure creativity or collaborations. You know, if I'm working portraits, especially like most of the models around here, if I'm doing something that is a portrait or involves, like, you know, using one of the models that comes to the street meets or whatever, people who are local, 9 times out of 10, I'm not even gonna bring up like the discussion of like, oh, I got to get paid for this. You know,
right.
I'm not fishing for that. You know, like, what's the point? Like, this is something that I want to do.
Right.
So that should be the value in and of itself, you know?
Absolutely.
I'm shorthanding myself. And also, when it comes to building relationships, sometimes you have to pick and choose your battles, because sometimes there could be somebody that I genuinely respect, you know, in this community, that I could learn a lot from, who also we could do really good work together. And you being like, all right, now let's talk compensation. That just kind of spoils the whole dynamic.
Okay, so what are we doing here? Is this a business transaction, or are we creating art here?
On the flip side to that, this is where I'm going to disagree a little bit with you guys. Every time I bring on someone, I make sure to tell them you're going to get paid for this, because I want them to get accustomed to getting paid for being a second shooter and accustomed to being that collaborative thing, because that's what keeps people in the space. A really weird thing in the creative space that a lot of people, and it's not even the newer people, it's the older people in the space who've been working in photography and videography for years, is that they take on a scarcity mindset where if more people come in, that's less work for me, or they'll drive the prices down. This is such a wrong approach in the creative space, because no two people have the same vision for anything. Spec work is one thing. Spec work also is where creatives go to die, and that's a whole other topic on itself. But the idea of scarcity, that if you help another person, another photographer, another videographer, that's something being taken away from you, then you've actually lost probably the reason why you got into this to begin with. Some people do get into it because they want to treat it as a job, and that's totally fair. Some people, you know, they would turn wrenches.
Some people have that acumen about them, about themselves.
And so they can treat it as that 9 to 5. For a lot of us, like, we're all about this, you know, we're all about this, and that's why the communal aspect of it is great. I have helped. I don't view any other photographers or cinematographers or production people as competitors. I never have.
Right.
And it's very unlikely that I ever will.
Right.
Because there's a solution to every problem, and sometimes your solution isn't the solution that the team or company or brand or whatever needs to go with. And that's not a personal dig on you, because sometimes what'll happen is they'll get an end result they don't like, and they're like, oh, let's go with you. I think we would have preferred to go that way. And that actually drives up value too. And if not, and you maintain that relationship and you're not weird and like iffy about it, that's how networking happens too, because maybe they'll refer you to one of their friends who likes this particular style, and they're like, oh, well, I know the guy who did that. Or the photographer as well. I've given work to other photographers and videographers and vice versa when we weren't able to cover, or maybe it made more sense with the person's budget to go to their location or something like that, or vice versa. So there weren't like travel costs involved. And that's really how you build a professional network. That's a true professional network right there. So
where nobody's really competing against each other. It's more so like, I can't do this thing here. Can you do it?
Yeah.
And then not have to worry about, if I give it to this guy, he's going to steal all my business.
For sure. And like that, just to tie back into what you were talking about, the compensation portion of it, there's nothing wrong with compensating for a creative endeavor, especially if there are costs involved. Now, yes.
Oh, yeah.
If there are things like, I will go out of my way, I will bring, if there's something I really want to shoot and it's someone I like and I know they do good work. Another thing I take into consideration is it for collaborative stuff. Say, you're going to meet up with a model. They spend time doing their hair, time doing their makeup. Time and money. It's expensive. The clothing and all that stuff.
Just to be clear, like I mean, like for myself is what I'm saying. Like I'm not going to go out of my way and make sure that like
but if you and I work together, I'm going to make sure your ass gets paid. That's what it is. Which is fantastic. But that energy you're bringing, 1,000%. I get it, appreciate it, but I'm always wary of, you're not a newer guy, but like just of the newer people.
Like letting them getting walked all over.
That's a concern because I feel like a lot of us maybe did the free stuff for a little too long.
Yeah.
While people were making money off of it, and it's a rough learning curve. It's a rough learning curve.
It can be very predatory.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because you think this might be your big break.
Exactly.
This might be the job that, or the gig that kind of gets you
discovered
with companies, entities like that, brands.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm full shark. I'm not
good. Yes.
Yeah, you guys
love to hear it.
Yeah,
love to hear it.
If a company's like, can you guys take pictures of my product? No, you guys got money. You can pay me something.
Exactly.
Something for my time, and give me that shit for free. I ain't returning shit.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is, though. That's exactly how it is.
The moment any sort of like third party, if it's a brand or there's a product,
they got an LLC or
an outfit is involved. I was like, okay, we gotta bring them into the
Very
conversation.
happy to hear that, because believe it or not, a lot of the newer people, they don't do that.
No, they do, and again, it's just because they feel like that's the only way to get their foot in the door.
They'll see influencers do it, and some of these creators, especially for video, incredibly skilled.
Yeah.
Absolutely love them, but they follow a model that's called free to fee. Which people don't see up front.
What's free to fee? I never heard of that one.
So free to fee is essentially, say for example, I'm actually going to do one pretty soon for a brand called Midday Squares. Midday Squares, it's like this, they call it like an energy bar. It actually tastes literally like a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's amazing.
Oh, nice, okay.
And they're pretty active on social. They're pretty active on LinkedIn. They get a bunch of investor money. So I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do something with these guys. So I'm going to use their product as part of a tutorial video on how to shoot a professional product video using only your cell phone.
Okay.
And I'm going to use their product. I'm going to tag them in it, and I'm going to toss it up on LinkedIn and message to it. So typically what happens when you work with brands like this is if they like what you see, they will reach out to you and say, hey,
can we do an actual shoot?
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Okay.
Now, and this is actually, and some advice, just so we're talking about this for people who are doing this, because I find myself repeating this more than anything else for people trying to, shoot samples, then reach out to brands. You can do your own creative thing where your product, like your product shots of a brand stuff, are something cool to you. But if you want to actually land them as a client, look at their page, look at what their stuff looks like, and emulate that. Because their marketing department, the people making the decisions, the ones writing the checks, they don't care about creative vision. They're like, oh, this looks like our stuff. This looks like our stuff. The same, like the color palette is a really important one people leave out. Use their brand colors. You don't necessarily have to use similar framings, but use the same maybe end shot so they have a similar frame they can use as a thumbnail. This is going to be a digital asset. Just think along the lines of the internal creative team, and then also put on like the non-creative guy hat, which is a huge internal struggle.
Yeah, it always is.
In corporate
yeah.
as
that,
it is.
that hat
Everyone's
that's
got
picking
it.
up dust in the corner. You're just looking at it like, oh.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good way to get that free-to-feed clientele, and it's actually a really good business model.
Yeah, no, I mean
It's
it
a
makes
really
sense.
good
It makes a lot
model.
of sense because then you kind of prove to them that you know what they like, right? Like
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on top of that, you also internally for yourself, for your soul, you get to still kind of do your own thing too.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's important. Like some people don't understand that. Sometimes it's like
It's like longevity. Like they're not trying to. They're not coming to you to really to reinvent the wheel.
right.
You know, you have to think
Yeah.
about it. They have a problem, and you're there to help them solve it.
Yep.
They have a whole team, especially bigger brands too.
Mhm.
They probably have a whole marketing division
Exactly.
that is strategically taking the steps to plan out everything: the aesthetics,
Yeah.
the tone, the messaging of what they're
Yep.
trying to produce, or the products that they're trying to promote.
Yep.
They don't need you to get in the way and try to like
redo their brand,
yeah,
redo
yeah,
their colors.
exactly.
If you
that
make them
stuff.
think more than 5 minutes about,
Even-
oh, can we use this? Then
because I see this a lot too in like the video space too, where they're gonna like
That's where
they're,
I'm
they're,
most guilty of it.
they're working with with a company and they make a video, and it could be a really dope video. Don't get me wrong, there could be really skill going in
Yeah,
there,
but
they're gonna
their
look at
aesthetic?
it. But they're gonna look at it and they're like, well, it's cool, but we're not gonna.
It's not a
we're not.
brand.
Yeah, we're not trying to do that over and over again. You know.
Yeah. It's if it's not part of their brand, if it doesn't resonate with their imagery, even if it's like something that's holiday or temporary, because obviously they have like several different campaigns, they're simply not going to run it. So you just want to have something where it's easily recognizable as that brand. That's really the key takeaway for that. Make sure that it's recognizable as that brand. Like, say, for example, if you go and you look at Target and you see red and white dots everywhere,
Yeah.
you make a sample video. If it's got red and white dots somewhere, I'm going to think it's a Target ad right away.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset you want to go into that. This is also a phenomenal skill builder for people. Not only the interactions with the marketing divisions, but also actually shooting product. Shooting products is a really interesting thing because you can get really creative with it, especially when you start learning things like After Effects and whatnot for compositing. Like I do a lot of video compositing. You know how we composite photos, we put people in other backgrounds?
Yeah, that. I mean, After Effects. I hate it, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you learn what works and what doesn't, and then there are a lot of AI tools that are very handy nowadays as well. Really good one for someone who ever wants to cut something out of screen is Runway.ml, which is almost like an automatic green screen, and you get the mask.
I've heard of that because I saw it on
It's good.
TikTok. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's like I follow an AI page and they like AI tools like that. Yeah.
It's a good one. They're all far from perfect. They're all far from perfect. You still have to learn how to do the bare bones because there are going to be things that you're going to have to fix. So definitely don't rely on that stuff. I'll say that.
No,
off the
I'm
bat.
sure you still got to feather some.
Yeah.
Feather the.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's just cool that it's there because it does allow you when you have the vision but you don't know how to use the tool. This allows you to get that extra step there, and maybe you'd never even use that software if you never had to shoot a product.
Right, and but we live in a time now where everything's so much easier than it was back when we were learning how to do editing, video editing and stuff.
Definitely.
Because now you could literally there's a tool for everything.
Yeah.
If you really want to do something, you can. It's not, and most of the time, a lot of the time, unless you're using Adobe, it's free.
DaVinci Resolve. Use that, guys. The color grading's a lot better there.
Are you a full-on DaVinci user?
No, I'm a full-on Adobe, but I use DaVinci for some of my personal projects and also for all HLG, HDR, Dolby Vision, and like iPhone footage and stuff. They edit like complete shit in Premiere because their color workflow, their color space workflow doesn't exist for HDR in a good way. But if you go to Resolve and you use a color space transform effect, you can pick what gamma channel it's on, you can pick what color space you want to do, and you can adjust the curves there, and the images look amazing coming out of it.
Damn.
So and that's free, you know what I mean? And it's free.
Yeah.
Adobe needs to
I got
get their
Paige
shit
on,
together.
on DaVinci.
Oh, Paige is on DaVinci. That's funny.
So I'm kind of low key learning from her, or I'm learning with her. You know.
Yeah.
So how do I do this? I don't know. How let's find out.
Their node system's great. People like to shit on Adobe, but it still does a lot of things better than DaVinci does.
The only thing that I like about Premiere right now is the transcribing. That's the
that
only thing.
that was such a big game changer.
That's the only thing I
huge.
love about a Premiere Pro Anything else, I'm still a Final Cut guy.
I am.
This guy's a convert too.
Yeah, he converted me to Final Cut Pro.
I can't do Final Cut.
I was. It's funny because this podcast is actually what got me to just forget about Adobe Premiere. I still use Adobe Premiere when I'm working with multiple editors.
Yeah.
Or like mainly for my 9-to-5 stuff. I'll probably use Adobe Premiere wherever I need to. But if I had a choice, I'll always just use Final Cut just because of stability mainly. Because all the other bells and whistles that Adobe does, like the auto transcription, I think their color grading is a lot better.
It is
in Adobe Premiere as well.
The color curves are it's just like using Lightroom,
but it's garbage in both of them.
Yeah, compared to Resolve.
Like I was so mad when I first went into Resolve and did it. I'm like, are you serious? Why hasn't Adobe just bought them already?
I'm curious. Then how does that workflow go? Because honestly, like I can't. It would be a lot. Honestly, it would be a lot for me to learn a third video editing software.
No, DaVinci, in my experience from just.
But I know people use. Sorry to cut you off, but I know people use like them. Sometimes they use them interchangeably.
Well, I mean, there's a workflow that'll take you into and out of your editing software.
Yeah.
Like you can do just your color grading in Resolve if you want to. The thing is, if you use one NLE, non-linear editing program for everyone listening, then you have a pretty good idea of how a lot of them work. What's really nice about DaVinci is that it has separate pages for everything. I have like minor tweaks I would like to have them do, like the smooth scrolling. They should have it in the cut page where they have it in the edit page and not the cut page. I don't know why. That keeps the timeline indicator in the middle instead of moving to the side.
I see. Where you can drag the.
I don't know why they have it on one of their pages and you can't enable it on the other. It drives me nuts. But for the most part, like you'll pick up the basics quickly. It's the other effects are just crazy. Not to mention the fact that it uses both the CPU and the GPU. So that's why it runs so smoothly versus Premiere. Where
that's right. Hold on. You mentioned something to me earlier about rendering times because you sent me a DM because I still remember this and I meant to ask you and I keep forgetting because on Premiere. 8-minute Reddit or 8-minute render turns into like 20 minutes. Is there you said that you had a tip for that? Like how do you speed up render times on on a Mac on a Mac?
Now, when you start off Premiere, you'll see on the project it says like, is this going to be Mercury playback composition like software accelerated or is it going to be CUDA, which uses like your graphics card and stuff? If you select one or the other, this is where it gets weird. The software-enabled one is more stable, so sometimes you won't have to.
It's usually Mercury, right? Isn't that?
Because
I know in my sequence settings, I always see Mercury something.
So that means that maybe that's what your system's optimized for, and that's why it goes there. I'm usually OpenCL or CUDA. And essentially, those will give you faster render times, but sometimes there are issues in those compositions which you can fix if you ever have glitches at your exports. Switch over to the standard software-enabled one, and it's going to take a lot longer to render, but at least it'll fix, like, especially these issues pop up with speed ramps, or sometimes people have certain effects going on, and they'll just mess up or it'll crash when you're trying to render the other ones.
I've ran into that issue maybe like a handful of times where the final render just I was like, wait, hold on, that's not
like something is off, like the framing is off or something like that.
And I have to re-export and then it fixes it, but yeah, I've ran into the issue just like a handful of times. And
it's super annoying because it is rare, but it's so frustrating when it happens and you can't figure
because
it out.
like you think you export it, you're like, okay, and then you send it off.
That's a mistake. See, that's a lesson to always watch your export. Always watch your export. I had a huge mess up a while back because of that.
Yeah, I was like, wait, because I sent something off for final approval, and they were like, wait, why is this? What's this little glitch right here? I was like, I should have watched it. Now I watch now I watch all my exports.
And it gets hard though because you watch that thing 5,000 times in the timeline
watch
already.
It full screen. I remember one of the first things I did that it really messed me up. This was back when, so I'll full on admit that I'm learning Apple Motion now. Because I want to integrate like
what is Apple Motion?
Apple Motion is Apple's After Effects, basically.
Oh God,
it's actually pretty. It's actually pretty intuitive.
It's way better than After Effects. I'll give it that because honestly,
is it?
Hold on. No,
I wouldn't say that,
bro. Well, it's not better, but on After Effects, every single fucking thing that you can click on is so tiny that you can really fuck up.
I'll give you that.
Like, seriously, like Like, and I almost feel like a boomer that I have to like just kind of zoom in on shit because god damn it, every little fuck,
that's fair.
like,
that's valid.
There's
that's
so
valid.
many little check boxes and shit that you could easily miss something.
Yeah. I mean, Motion has kind of got a similar layout to After Effects.
Gotcha.
If you've been in After Effects, you recognize the motion layout.
Okay, cool. That's
but I
actually
use
cool.
it because I use a lot of
Well, you edit in Final Cut and stuff, so I'm assuming
I edit in
it's way
Final
better.
Cut, and I use a lot of effects, transitions. I do a lot of text, motion graphics stuff work that I
Okay,
do.
nice.
And sometimes even if it's like a preset, I like to kind of like fiddle around with it in Apple Motion just to make it a little bit more custom.
Yeah.
So I do that, and I remember this was back when I was using this. It was the same principle, but in Premiere, you know. But I used to be of the mindset I was like, oh, I can't let anybody know that I'm using a preset or something because then I'll get in trouble.
Who cares, man? Who
yeah,
cares anymore?
But I was getting like real jobs, and I was doing like a thing where I wanted to. I put in the thing that I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally experienced in motion graphics. I know how that works.
So you open it, you just delete all the X's and O's that are floating around.
Yeah, so I put in
We've all done it.
I've been there.
The video editors, the 3 video editors listening to this right now are like, shit.
So I put in a
You're spilling tea here, man.
so I put in a lower thirds. Not a lower thirds, it was a call out. So it was essentially like a title animation type of thing.
Yeah.
And I put in like the information on there, and I put in it, and I was like, oh, this looks slick. They're gonna be so impressed by this. And then I send it out to them, and then I like about an hour or two later, they send me a screenshot. It's like, hey, what's this? And there's like inside of the preset, whatever motion graphics artist made that, he just put like a little grayed out dummy text here because it had like a little glitch effect, and it was right there, and I was like,
Just tell them, oh, this is
thanks,
it was a place. No, you just go, oh, there's a placeholder. I forgot.
Oh,
to
I
remove the
do that
layer
all the
off.
time.
Exactly.
Let me go ahead.
Yo, you better, guys, listen up. They don't know shit. Play
Actually,
it
you guys
off.
want me to say anything in there?
Play it off. Yeah, they're like, oh, this was in case you wanted to insert like your slogan here, sir. Just completely play it off when it happens.
It's just basically
software
lore
glitch.
with some, no big deal.
Yeah, software glitch because I was building this in a separate program.
But I remember because that wasn't even an editable text field in
Oh,
Premiere.
really?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
so I
shit.
was like, how do I even get rid of this thing? So I had to like, and then I realized that the pack that came from, it had a whole bunch of other like similar things where the dummy text was not editable out. So I was like, crap. So I used another one where it was kind of like far away from the main text that I could mask it out. But I had to change the animation. Oh. And then I was like, oh, I decided to go in a different direction. I hope you guys still like this. I didn't.
Oh no! Oh no! What happened?
Oh, no, they were still cool with it. It was like, oh, it
Okay.
still looks great.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, if they don't like it and they want the old animation, they're
they're
going to be...
You're gonna have to do a frame by frame.
Yeah,
mask.
seriously.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, always check your renders full screen.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I was gonna say this earlier, but it's like, so Apple Motion is probably a really good move. The reason why these other softwares are now popping up and they're becoming very popular is because ever since Adobe moved to the subscription model, they became less of a pro tool and more about adding features rather than fixing it. So even people who have had Premiere workflows for years or AE workflows for years, they're starting to move away from the software. Like for me, if someone made a real replacement to After Effects for everything that I do there, and I know for a fact nothing exists right now that can completely replace it.
I mean, they've been in the game for years.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm right now. I'm gone. If that's the case, they have to do a fresh rebuild, new code, new from the ground up, because
One-time fee. One time, I'll
I'll
pay
pay it.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll pay
I'll
the
pay it.
$400, $500
just
for the software.
charge us for it, man.
Yeah,
Like, just
yeah.
do it.
Apple Motion's only $70. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Resolve is free, along with a Fusion page.
But does Resolve have good animation features?
It's okay. It's for motion typography, it's pretty good. I still think, like, personally, just my workflow. This is, of course, because I've been using them for so long. But I make my own presets in After Effects and I export them to Premiere. The workflow for that.
You ever
stuff-
do the dynamic link on that? Like, you ever do
Yeah,
that?
you know, it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I don't
Okay,
care
I
what
wasn't
anyone
sure.
says dynamic.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just me. Cause
Yeah, I'm like,
I tried it out. I was like, wait, hold on.
am I an idiot and not
Like,
figuring this out,
yeah,
or
and then
what?
Because my computer sounded like a fucking jet when I was doing that. like going back and forth, just fixing a little mogurt, like just trying to and then just make little changes. Like, okay, this on paper this sounds cool. This would make sense. But god damn it, does this slow my shit down, my process down so much?
It's not super helpful to me. I'd rather just start a new After Effects composition and then drag this stuff in afterwards. If that's the case.
Yeah, just do a quick export and just and then just
Oh,
yeah, you're good.
Sorry. Lean a little too far back from the mic, folks. No worry. It was just Adobe slander. Don't worry about it. Just Adobe slander.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way too. It's just like Adobe. I used to bootleg Adobe for the longest time, and the only thing that I like about Adobe is just Lightroom. I could care less about Premiere.
But even then, like, there's so many other different...
Fun fact, I don't use Lightroom. I'm a Capture One guy.
Capture One, that's another one. That's not...
All Fujifilm people. Capture One people, yeah.
Yeah.
So, because it processes the raw files
better?
Okay.
Yeah. We have some watercolor, like, weird issues sometimes.
True.
Although sometimes no with it. It's really inconsistent. But
I mean, when you really think about it, I would say After Effects is really the only thing Adobe's got, like, a stranglehold on.
1,000%.
Yeah.
That
1,000%.
Yeah, nobody else has.
Because there are alternatives to Lightroom. There are alternatives to Illustrator, to Premiere, to Audition.
They know that. They know that. Yeah. They know that After Effects is the software that if you want to do any real
But like, why
crazy
can't
fucking work.
somebody just get like Apple put some more money?
Why can't we get an Elon Musk on this kind of thing? Like just throw some money into competing against After Effects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's because they'll just send it to the moon or something.
Yeah.
Afterwards. But I mean. They're making so much money off the subscription model that it's unlikely, unless they face like a real issue, that they'll actually address it. So I don't know. That's why I'm making an effort in learning some of the more advanced features of Resolve, and I'm editing at least my personal videos for the time being in Resolve. The color grading is so beautiful in it, but like everything else is just a pain in the ass, just because I've learned it, in the Adobe ecosystem for so many years. And the other thing is that if you work in a collaborative environment, working in Adobe is going to be a lot better as well. That's a really hard thing to let go of.
Everything can be open on Windows or Mac. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why I even use this shit for work.
Even just exporting like project files.
Oh yeah, you can export any.
Like I can literally like if I could literally just export an entire project with all of the elements, all the footage, basically reconverted into like other. I basically get it's essentially like when you download. Like a song in all the stem formats.
Yeah.
Like I get the project file,
all the attached stuff,
all the attachments, all the mogarts that I've used, all the clips. Have been curated.
I'm about to date myself here, but if anyone here is as old as I am, this is what PowerPoint Pack and Go was like back in the day on the old zip drives. You guys remember the zip drives?
I never even heard of PowerPoint.
Oh, okay,
no, PowerPoint. What was it? PowerPoint Pack?
Pack and Go.
Pack and Go.
Pack and Go in the external zip drives you'd have to buy. It's the 100 megabyte discs back in the day. Damn, I'm old. Never mind. Go.
Megabytes.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Continue. We're gonna edit that part out. We're gonna edit that part out.
But no, like that's the only pain in the ass is like with my 9 to 5 sometimes, especially editors, when I see them and they're like a Premiere Pro user, it's just like okay, fine.
Look, we love ragging on it, but it really is a very powerful tool.
It
still is.
It really is.
Especially now they have the Frame IO integration. Which
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's so crazy
because you could see every like right there in real time what edits need to be made.
It's not even that. Like if you're shooting remotely and you have an editor remotely, they will have the proxy files to start on immediately. It's crazy. Yeah.
Shit. You got editors on your side.
So if you're using like Filmic Pro, or if you're using like an Atomos Ninja or something like that, you can actually do that Frame IO workflow very easily, and you're good. Like it's such a crazy thing to see what that's going to do for production. This is more for like larger productions or mixing or stuff like that.
Like, you got to turn something out same day.
But I can see that being done for sports, where a lot of us like will shoot in the U.S. and then the UK editing team will, for example. They'll get to work right away.
I was going to say football, American football, because now they got the A7 IV4s on the field now.
Yeah, remember how big of a deal that was?
This looks like Madden.
Yeah, this looks like a movie. Meanwhile, I'm looking at it. I'm like, that dude ramped up the shutter speed. There's no ND filter on that. I started here's another thing about following all the rules of videography, guys. Unless you're a videographer, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about your shutter speed. No one gives a shit about motion blur.
Yeah.
You're just gonna
really
be.
don't notice.
Yeah. No, they don't.
Because I remember for my company, I did a lot of less now, but in the beginning when I started my job, I did a lot of vlog style content for other people in the company. And I remember just like going around, and I'm like the fat kid in class with my backpack, just trying to like rummage through all the ND filters and put it on there. And at one point, I was just like, I give up. Like this is ultimately going to end up on like we're going to splice this vlog up, and it's going to end up on like Instagram or TikTok.
Who cares then?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So like I just threw all that out of the way, and even to my eye, like I notice when there's like no motion blur.
Except for the Pro Mist, I still love me a good Pro Mist.
A Pro Mist is different because that's something that you visually can see, and you don't have to really look for it. Like you just know.
It's not a technical skill that you need to apply and control these lights and all this.
Do you think there's like a weird like camera cartel thing where they just kind of feed you this, like you need to have this?
Oh, so I call them camera influencers for the most part.
No, because I mean, obviously, an ND filter is great, right? For whenever you got too much sun or whatever, and and a UV filter is there just to protect your lens.
Yeah, pretty much. Doesn't do anything else other than
and then you get the variable ND filters, which is kind of cool because you get to see it in real time when you.
Oh yeah, those are my babies. Those are all I have now. Yeah. I don't even use the other ones anymore.
But then, like for me, I'll
but it vignettes.
Well, when you go to 14.
No, but like I feel like I'm in the same boat where it's just use the right tools for the job. Don't overthink it. I think a lot of, and this is not to, I'm not trying to talk down anybody, but realistically, what are you shooting? What are you shooting that demands that you use, that you follow every single rule in the book for cinematography?
Well, I mean, it's a best practices thing for some people, depending on what their style is.
It's good to know the rules, but then also
you have to know how to break them, though.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are really bad at doing, and present company included. Like, it took me the longest time to go from a 180 shutter angle to a 90-degree angle, and you know what? For sports, it looks a lot better. It looks more dynamic. I'm like, well, shit, I should have done this maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, but the rules are,
180 shutter, don't expose over a stop. Protect the highlights.
Okay.
Protect the highlights.
I just look at my
highlights. Now I can't see shit.
Man, sometimes when I'm on the fly, I just spin the dials until I get what I need. And then I just
and that's good. And honestly, for 99.9% of stuff out there, that's perfectly fine. And the 0.1% that requires something,
like if I'm shooting like an interview and I have the time to really sit down and I don't have this person fidgeting and okay, can we get this over with? Then I'll sit down and really fine tune everything.
You removed the log from a lot of the stuff.
I don't use log anymore. Yeah. Just because the color. Because do I really need to sit there for hours just to color grade this shit? Sometimes it's just like if it comes great out of the camera straight up, do I need to do anything else to it other than maybe throw a LUT and like turn down the intensity by like 25% or something like that? I'm not shooting a movie here. I'm just shooting an interview. Yeah. And if the color's great, camera,
if the color profile is good, then that's good. I mean, I shot a lot of my old stuff on Fuji when I was vlogging on that in the Eternal profile. I didn't always shoot it in log, and I love the Eternal profile. It's a low contrast one. I like the color. You can do the minor adjustments there without breaking the files apart. Absolutely nothing like getting fixated in the log. If you're going to be a colorist, then go ahead and shoot as much. Shoot as much as you can in log, so you have more time to practice, and it becomes more second nature, whatever the case is. Especially if you run into a really dynamic.
There was a time that I was obsessed with log.
Mm-hmm. Like, everyone.
Especially like everyone. I gotta get the A7 III so I can get the S log 3.
Yeah, which is a pain in the ass log format too, by the way.
Man, and then for some reason when I shot HLG one time. And Final Cut did not process that well.
That's what you need Resolve for.
Yeah, it was like super like contrasty. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was like a music video that I was shooting, and I was like, I can't do anything with this. Yeah. And it was like it wasn't processing well. And then the A7 III came out and had the Cinetone to it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need that. And then I was like, what am I gonna do with that? Like,
Well, Cinetone's not like log. Cinetone is essentially like a normal profile.
It's like it's like Eterna for Fuji. It's a very low contrast profile.
Yeah.
Which if you want to like mess with the colors and stuff a little bit, then you can, and it looks good and everything. But yeah, definitely not the flexibility of log.
Yeah. No, and it's not as much of a pain in the ass. Because I remember when I got onto my work camera, the A7 III, that's all I used. Is the Cinetone.
I was so obsessed with getting that. I ended up going the Canon route just because a lot of my clients, they have like Canon for their in-house stuff, and it's just going to be easier to match up with.
Yeah, the colorway. Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, so that's another thing. If a camera was released in the last 4 years, it's not a bad camera. Period.
Yeah.
No.
I will die on that hill. I don't give a shit what the brand is.
You're definitely right. You're definitely right.
I will die on this hill.
You have to understand context here. We like.
We
It's been a
walk
struggle.
so you can run. You fuckers.
You really can't go wrong nowadays.
Yeah. Back in the day, we were like, "Ooh, there's a phase detect layer of that, but it affects the color of the image."
Everything focuses. Everything looks okay in decent lighting. Like it's
everything can give you a blurry background if you buy their fucking $2,000 lens. Like,
unless you're Nikon. You're good.
Right.
I like the Z mount.
Really?
I like it. Yeah.
You're the first person. Well, no,
I really like the new Nikon.
Well, we had Chris on the show who was a Nikon guy, but he converted. He's a
Sony now.
Sony.
Yeah.
I guess you like green skin tones, bud. Join Team Magenta on Canon. Those are like really intricate jokes. A lot of people are like, "What are these guys talking about?"
No, but one thing I do like, and I've seen it before. I've seen it like on a professional level, like how Canon captures colors differently than Sony. I've seen that before. And I get it. But I don't.
That's irrelevant now, though, because their new one's amazing.
Yeah.
Their new color profile is really, really good.
But if you're shooting RAW, does it matter?
Huh?
If you're shooting RAW, does it ultimately matter?
Oh, for photos, no.
Yeah.
For
video, yeah.
For video, depends on how much. Like, it's really more about color casting, you controlling the environment.
Yeah.
But for photos, I mean,
no. But if you were to shoot a project that one was shot on Canon and the other scene was shot on Sony, you would be able to tell the difference, and that's going to be a pain in the ass to try to match.
So there is a gamma workflow for that to actually match them, and I've seen a colorist do it in front of me, and I said I will.
You said colorist. That sounds like a whole career.
Yeah. Well, so
no, I know that. I'm just saying, like that means that somebody is a very well versed person. That's not cheap to just match your colors.
Like
from Sony to Canon.
You know how we correct our colors with like keyboards and mice? Yeah. They have the literal like studio dials.
Yeah,
it looks like it's
I've
crazy.
always wanted one of those because I've seen like they used to sell these, or I'm sure they still do, these little modular blocks.
Yeah,
that you can like kind of
daisy chain to each other. Yeah.
Each dial is like for a certain thing on a and I was like, God damn. But then I saw the price tag on those.
Oh yeah, you can buy the pre-built ones from Black Magic. They're like $6,000 and stuff.
Yeah, Black Magic. Yeah.
Well, Resolve is their software.
Oh really?
Yeah. Black Magic owns it.
Yeah. Because I remember the little.
And that's also why it reads B-RAW, and Apple does not. By the way, fun fact: you can't edit B-RAW. Apple Motion guy.
Okay. I'll make sure I do not get a Black Magic then.
Yeah. But in case you ever do import footage from someone else, you got to tell them to transcode it before he even sends it to you.
That's actually a good point.
Or you can do it in Premiere or Media Encoder, because that'll read everything.
Is Media Encoder free?
It's included if you pay for Premiere.
I don't. Oh well, yeah, for my work computer.
Yeah,
I'll do it on my work computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that stuff gets annoying when it comes to if anyone ever does collaborative video, you come across some pretty unique issues. You can never really be prepared for them.
No,
those are some basic pieces of advice that we're tossing out throughout the podcast in case you ever do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put your head through a wall when it happens.
Yeah, that's the worst. When you think you're doing something right and just nothing is working. It's like, okay, you follow a YouTube tutorial, doesn't work. Okay, you follow another YouTube tutorial, doesn't work. Then it's like, okay, what the fuck?
That's part of the process.
You find out you just have to restart your computer.
Yeah. So shout out,
It's like, what do you do all day? Oh, I spend probably 20% of my day actually editing, and then the rest of it is just banging my head up against the desk.
Yeah. Swearing at my computer.
Why is it taking so long? I don't know.
Bruh, like, look, if you want to sit behind me for 8 hours of the day and you won't get bored, then go ahead.
You know how they do those?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I told my boss to do the other day, like out of rage.
I saw something really funny. Have you seen on YouTube, like, there's a whole trend of, sit with me while I do my work.
Yes,
and
yes.
And listen to some, like, lo-fi beats or something. I was like, I couldn't do that. Because you would just see me, like, going like, what the fuck? Why is this thing going so fucking slow? And for me, it's not serene at all.
For me, it'd just be like, well, I get like an ADHD diagnosis in 3 seconds, just clicking around a bunch of stuff. Especially like when you know that time when you're rendering and you have to find something to do, but it can't be something that loads up your computer to slow down the rendering at the same time.
You just gotta let it sit because you might ruin the export, and you just gotta let it sit there and do its thing, and then the thing is a whole jet engine, while it's
yeah, exactly. The fans start blaring and stuff.
Whenever you see me like this on my computer, like this, just like
And for those who are just listening, he just folded his beard up over his mouth. Just imagine that visual right there. Going to be very descriptive as this happens.
This is my rage inquisition right here. It's just like, what the fuck? Why the fuck can't I do that? Why isn't it ripple editing? What the fuck?
Oh God, yeah, the ripple edits kill me.
And like sometimes it doesn't work. It's like, God damn it, I gotta
Q.
God damn it. All right.
Crash.
YouTube. And then I watch a YouTube video and I do the same thing that they're doing. Doesn't work.
See,
or your threshold for bullshit is already at max capacity. Like you're already annoyed to the max, and then you gotta put on some YouTuber and he's like, hey guys, and then it's like a whole like 3 minutes before he actually shows you. It's like
back in 1990, Adobe launches software to edit stuff.
Give me to the stuff I need to know. God damn it.
That's why.
And then you get to the part that you need. Oh, there's an ad. And then you got to sit through that bullshit.
I haven't seen a YouTube ad in years. YouTube Premium, baby.
Oh, yes.
1,000% worth it.
YouTube Premium Master Race.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I got a fist bump for that.
I have yet to buy that shit.
How much is that? I think it's like $120 a year.
God damn.
But dude, when I tell you it's worth it, it comes with YouTube Music.
To any other streaming subscription.
It comes with YouTube Music though, so you get a free like premium music app and stuff too.
I mean, I got Spotify, but I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to like play the videos, no ads, being able to download the videos. I do them to like if there's something I want to watch that's long, I can just download it, play it on the treadmill, good to go.
Oh,
tutorials and stuff too, so you don't lose them.
Yeah.
Just keep them in your download stuff.
I didn't think you could download from that.
Yeah, but you download, but it's in app. It stays in app, but it's fine. Like it's
like Netflix. Like
like Spotify, you can download it, but then after 30 days, you gotta make sure that you still
renew the license or something.
Yeah.
All right, well, Omar, we're running up on like about an hour and a half now. So
damn, already?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. No, but we'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
It's great. It's been great talking to you.
This is probably the techiest podcast we've had.
Yeah, I love nerding out with you.
We're finally a photography podcast here.
Well, if that's the case, I can bring several samples over, and we can really go into the nitty gritty between the BSI sensors and the Bayer sensor discussion.
I'm sure there's an audience for that out there somewhere. We can try to tap into.
No, I love that. I feel
it's
like
the comment section of every YouTube video. That's that audience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the best part is like not a lot of people understand what the fuck we're talking about. And like I could sit here and talk to regular people about my gripes of work and just editing, camera shit in general, and they're not gonna get it. It's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Like, oh, cool. You ever talk to your girl about something camera related or editing related?
Sometimes it's just like, what do you mean? The colors are the same. They're not the same. They look the same to me.
Look at the curves here between these two shots.
It's not the same. God damn it.
Why are you late? I was rendering this video and just like.
So she's like, so what are you doing? You're just sitting there on TikTok. I'm like, I'm waiting for this export.
Yo, that's a dangerous thing. If you're dating a video editor or videographer or whatever, and you see them kind of like on their phone, just looking at the computer, this is a tense moment sometimes. Because if you're on export final _ version free _ real final, if you're rendering that one out,
never put the word final in your export.
Yeah, that's automatic jinxing it. Automatically jinxing it.
It's like Adobe knows that. It's like
you joke. I literally will not name something final until after I check it and it looks good, and then I'll name it final in the folder.
Yeah, my draft V4. If they approve it, then it turns into
exactly.
a final.
Yes.
Otherwise, I feel like Adobe knows when he's called something final. I'm gonna fuck with this guy.
Yeah, it's like there's literally a guy's job. He just goes, "Well, I guess it's time to teach him a lesson."
welcome to the industry, bitch.
Love it.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you guys for listening.
Do you have any parting words for us? Any wise words for?
What's your Instagram? You got something you
want
to plug?
Damn.
Oh, my Instagram is omar.tiff. TIF.
Did you just?
I recently changed that because every time I'd have to tell people it's Omar B. Rimawi, I get someone go, I thought it was just Rimawi.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too.
See, that's a callback to the start of this podcast. But yeah, it's omar.tiff, which is a file format because JPEG was taken. And I'm like, oh man.
Wait, what raw format is that? Is that for the Fuji?
The TIFF is any uncompressed format that you send out for print or for further production or anything like that for photos.
It's a better quality than a JPEG.
It's like a RAW.
Yeah.
It's like a RAW, but like universal. Yes. It's as raw as a RAW, except that it's also going to turn your file from a PSD to a PSB because those boys get pretty big.
Sure.
Maybe that's a big boy. Maybe I should have been Omar.psb, but like 3 people would have gotten it.
And on that note,
whatever you say, man.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been a great podcast, and I'm hoping that you guys actually learned something on this one. We might actually promote this one just because we actually talk about some real photography shit.
And if you've got questions, ask him. Ask him. I will talk your ear off, and you will block me.
This guy
but go ahead and ask. We'll get your information.
Come to the meet.
Yeah, I was about to say, come see this man at the next street meet.
I'll be holding something weird, either a big Fuji lens or like
you got
a 360 camera, like with the stick all the way up or something like that. Oh God, I'm gonna get banned one of these days. Not from you guys, just from like this from the state. Like we've had enough of this man.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you guys are even listening to this point, but peace.
Peace out.
Laters.